call the roll, please?
Rob Brigham,
Yes.
Mike Hancock.
Yes.
Brett Meany,
Yes.
Laura Iverson, Alex Shada,
Yes.
Renee Philmeyer. Yes.
That's right. Laura is out of town and not going to be here this evening. Is there a motion to approve her absence?
So moved.
Second. Motion second. Any discussion? Chris, would you call the roll, please?
Mike,
Yes.
Brett,
Yes.
Alex.
Yes.
Renee. Yes. Rob.
Yes. All right, if you'd stand and join us in the pledge. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, next item is the recognition of the open meetings law. There's information on the wall. If you have any questions, you can ask. Approval of the agenda. Is there a motion to approve the agenda? A motion, is there a second?
Second.
Discussion? Chris, would you call the roll, please?
Mike,
Yes.
Brett,
Yes.
Alex,
Yes.
Renee. Yes. Rob.
Yes. Okay, next item is board minutes from the July meeting. Any questions? And if not, is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Any discussion? Chris, would you call the roll, please?
Mike,
Yes.
Brett,
Yes.
Alex.
Yes.
Renee. Yes. Rob.
Yes. Okay, and next item is the claims. Is there a motion to approve the claims, both batches that were sent by Chris with the exception of the ED Lawn Service and the EMC insurance companies?
So moved.
A motion, is there a second?
Second.
Discussion. Chris, would you call the roll, please?
Mike,
Yes.
Brett,
Yes.
Alex,
Yes.
Renee. Yes. Rob.
Yes. Okay, is there a motion to approve the EMC insurance company's claim for $190,954?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All right, and just for clarification, this is so last month we approved the renewal of insurance with Inspro for the property and casualty, not subject to anything, but now we have got their bill. Brandon, can you just briefly update us on this in comparison to previous?
Yep. So what we did, in order to keep that increase down somewhat, because we were short on valuation of buildings, we increased that replacement to over $300 square foot. But what we did is we increased the deductible for any damage or anything like that up to $10,000, which is not out of the range of normal as far as industry goes. Increasing that deductible, increasing the amount that we're covering, I think the difference is somewhere in the neighborhood of $4,000 over last year. Because I'm talking total bill, our workman's comp went down 7,000, and I think the property went up 11.
What was the deductible?
It was like 1,500,
That low?
yes.
Okay. And the 10,000, obviously, we can take that from a number of different places, whether it be the general fund, the building fund, the depreciation fund, if we would have loss.
Yep.
Okay.
And the building per square footage cost per square foot was what before? I mean, I think people need to be in perspective of how much you raise. It's a lot.
Right, I don't know, I don't remember what our coverage was. Sorry, I don't remember what the valuation was. The initial that we got previously was like 250, 260 a square foot for replacement value. And right now, Brian would tell you it's closer to 325 or 350 than it is 250. So we're trying to get to that replacement value.
Okay. Any other questions? If not, Chris, would you call the roll, please?
Brett,
Yes.
Alex,
Yes.
Renee. Yes. Rob.
Yes.
Mike.
Abstain.
Okay, and then is there a motion to approve the ED claim for, was it $4,795? $4,795.
So moved.
Got a motion, is there a second?
Second.
Okay, discussion. Chris, would you call the roll, please?
Alex,
Yes.
Renee. Yes. Rob.
Yes.
Mike.
Yes.
Brett,
Abstain.
Okay. Moving forward, got the treasurer's report, various pieces of information from the administration. Any questions from the board on that? Okay, moving on to the policy review. Brandon?
All right, we've got a few policies that we need to review. We do this on an annual basis and not have them on the July agenda. We need to do them tonight. Two of them are going to require hearing status, meaning public comment, for just that policy during that time. The other two require a yearly review. I'm going to start with 504.20, bullying prevention. That policy comes straight from legal counsel, not recommending any changes to it. It's reviewed annually. The last change was made in August of 2020. Came straight from KSB. It talks about the definition of bullying, how it is prohibited by the school, reporting, investigating, discipline, laid out in policy.
Questions on bullying prevention? Okay.
Okay, the next one I'm going to go to is 1005.04, Title I Parent and Family Involvement. We have two different parental involvement policies. One is district-wide, one is specifically for Title I. Title I is federal money that we get or that we're eligible for, and a piece of that requires parent involvement and parent engagement, getting feedback to the program, what they would like to see for their kids, for the program. We do this on an annual basis as far as reaching out, making sure that people stay involved.
Questions from the board? Okay.
Okay, the next one is student fees. This one I believe we have had in place for a while. The last revision was in 2019. Talks about what student fees are, what they can be collected for, the waiver process, how we spend those. This one does require hearing status, so we will have to open it up to public comment.
Want to do them together or do each one individually?
I would do them individually.
All right, so let's open the public comment or public hearing on student fees. Any comments from the public? Hearing none, is there a motion to close the public hearing on student fees?
So moved.
Motion, is there a second? Second. Discussion? Chris, would you call the roll, please?
Mike,
Yes.
Brett,
Yes.
Alex.
Yes.
Renee. Yes. Rob.
Yes. Okay, any comments from the board on the student fees policy? Okay, Brandon?
Okay, the last one, regarding involvement in education, it's 1005.03. This allows parents, guardians access to district procedures, district materials as far as instructional materials, encourages parental involvement. It talks about rights as far as assessment. It also talks about surveys with students. Again, we encourage parental involvement. Typically what we see at school is we see a lot of involvement elementary, and that tends to wane as the kids get older. I don't think that's unique to Wahoo, it's what you see everywhere, but we try to engage as often as possible.
Any other comment? Otherwise, we'll open the public hearing on the parental and guardian involvement in education. Any comments from the public on that? Di?
Yeah, I guess I wasn't planning to, but since you're going to talk about it.
Yeah.
I'm just curious where that data goes, who all gets that? Because last Friday I was at the state meeting and they get it, and it goes to the ESU. Where all does that go? Where is it stored? Where, you know,
Data.
Which
like
data?
the stuff from the surveys, that they do, the assessments.
The assessments,
The surveys that the kids all fill out.
You're talking about the stuff that's referenced in part 7 of the policy. Parents and guardians will be notified of their right to remove the children from surveys prior to district participation in surveys.
Right, and I don't know, like I said, I wasn't planning to speak, but I think, is it Pandora, what's the one that, I don't remember, I don't know who we use that the kids do these surveys through.
What would be an example, Brandon, of the types of surveys that they would be referencing in this?
One of them might be Bright Bites. We use Bright Bites, not on a yearly basis, but intermittently as far as technology use, as far as technology needs. Mr. Harris will do student surveys as far as guidance type stuff. I believe for our 5-year review for accreditation, we have to do student survey for basically experiences in school. Those would be the surveys, but
Like
those
the
would
social, emotional learning kind of stuff that the kids do, and then I think they do 2 or 3 a year, I don't know.
So, what I think maybe we're talking about 2 different things.
And that could be.
So, like Bright Bites and the surveys that Mr. Valley is talking about, as far as I understand, those surveys, those would be things that we use for like the continuous improvement process. So, like parents can fill out surveys about their feelings about the school, teachers, staff fill out those surveys. I think once in a 5-year cycle or maybe twice, students can also fill out surveys, but if they choose to do that, it's anonymous. It doesn't collect any of their information, their name, their email address, nothing like that. So it's purely anonymous. And then I think what you might be talking about is like a social emotional screener.
Right.
And so that's a different thing than the surveys.
Right.
I think, right? Those would be referenced as different things.
right.
So those are, like the social emotional screeners would be run through the school counselors.
Okay, but like, because the Nebraska Department of Education gets those too, and the ESU gets those too. And I think the federal can get those too.
I don't know that we share any information from a social emotional screener with anyone.
That screener we would not share. That's in-house. So I think the best thing maybe for you and I to sit down and make sure we're talking about the same thing.
Okay, because I've got the printout from Nebraska
Sure.
Department of Education, and they get it,
Yeah.
so,
Why don't you and I sit down so
okay,
we're talking
yep,
the same
that'd be
language?
perfect,
And
yep,
then I can get you that
Okay.
info.
that sounds good, thank you.
Thanks, Tony. Any other comments? If not, is there a motion to close the public hearing?
So
So-
moved.
Motion, Alex second. Discussion?
Yeah, so just,
This is just to
Oh,
close the public hearing.
okay, yeah.
Then we'll have board comment, is that right?
yeah, go ahead.
Okay, Chris, would you call the roll, please?
Renee,
Yes.
Rob,
Yes.
Mike,
Yes.
Brett,
Yep.
Alex.
Okay, Mike, go ahead.
Well,
Board comments?
just a question, so back on surveys, are we surveying kids every year? Exit surveys, so we're not doing that on consistent basis, so we do it every 5 years? You talked about, we do this, but how often do we do it?
So typically that's when Dr. Snyder would have more to say about it than I would, because that's something that it's more of like a district level decision and part of the school improvement process. So we've done it more than once since I've been here, but it hasn't been every year. I don't know, Brandon, you probably know more
What's
about
the
that than I
reason,
do.
why don't we do it every year? Is this not something we do?
I don't know that we survey any group on a yearly basis.
You know,
It's on a cycle, but I don't know how often it is. I know it's been.
oh, I'm just curious, if
Multiple
we're
times.
just checking for culture and how things are going, I would think that'd be a way to measure where it's at. I just.
Sure. Yeah, I'll talk to Josh some more.
And maybe it'd be helpful for us to see what these surveys are. I think we're throwing around a word that we haven't defined,
Right.
surveying about data that we haven't seen. So maybe just a sample of what
Sure.
this might look like and how often it's going out,
Yep.
so we can actually,
Well, we know it's not going out every year, that's obvious.
right, but I don't even know what this is. What are
Just
we
so-
surveying? What questions are we asking?
How often are we doing it?
How often are we doing it? Which students get it, which years? I just don't know enough to talk intelligently about it.
Okay. Any other comments from the board? All right.
Okay, real quick, before we get into administrative reports and Rob takes that over. kind of an empty table. We've got an activity down at the softball field, we've got back to school night upstairs and downstairs. If there's something that somebody needs to come in for, speak up, I can text them and have them come in. Otherwise, most of our administrators are at other events.
Okay.
Rick, did we need to vote on that last policy?
We did.
No,
Just to close this, not public discussion.
but there's
No,
no,
there's no.
Oh, there's no vote on it.
it's
It's
just,
just
it's just a
Okay.
review.
Thank you.
Correct. All right, let's see, yes, so administrative reports,
And Shelley.
oh, there's Shelley right there. Shelley, you're up. I'm looking for you in kind of where, you know, where you've been the last few months, and you weren't there.
I really don't have much to report, other than I just wanted to make mention of, at the last board meeting, I believe we needed to hire 13 paras, something along those lines, down to needing just one. So that was the wage increase and the retention bonus, huge. So paras that we had had in the past, some came back, others I was able to recruit, so thank you very much for
Good. Any questions for Shelley? All right, thanks Shelley. Ben?
So yeah, we're kicking off the school year. As you guys probably recall from the last time I reported, I'm taking over as the Head Start director. So Head Start staff actually came back. They've been back for over a week already. So we've been doing a lot of the Head Start trainings and things like that. Things are shaping up well. I went and met with Jill Bonberger, who's the director of Head Start for Community Action, just to kind of work on that working relationship we have with them. It was a great, solid start for some of the basics that we need to get in place as far as just making sure we're on the same page with our policies and things like that. So yeah, getting everything underway for a Head Start, that's going well. And then today was the first official day back for elementary staff, but with so many room moves and new faces, the building's been full for weeks. And so things really look good down there, and it was a good, exciting day to be back today. We'll have our back to school night will be tomorrow. Our theme this year is above and beyond, and so it's kind of our tagline is that at Wahoo Elementary we go above expectations because we care beyond measure. And so it's kind of a space theme, but it's also just about doing everything we can for our kids and each other. So it's been a good start to the year so far. Our hospitality committee actually has already met too, and they have lined up for there to be like music and food trucks and all kinds of fun stuff at our back to school night tomorrow night, so we're excited for that. Beyond that, any questions for me?
All right,
Okay.
thank you, Ben.
Yep.
Brandon?
All right, I just have two notes. The first one, budget timelines. I've shared this in an email before. I think my recommendation for this, again, with LB 644, kind of the postcard bill, I think is the generic name. I have to have everything to the county no later than September 5th. I won't have valuations until probably Friday, hopefully, to be able to put that budget together. So I basically get a week to put it together to get the county information so they can put it on a postcard and send it out. My recommendation would be that we do our budget hearing and we do our tax asking hearing, just like we always have at the regular meeting in September. We will have that joint meeting, which is a tax asking meeting, but it includes all the school districts if you exceed 2%, any county, city, any other municipality. That will be, it's the 26th or 27th of September, I gotta go back and look. And then we will need to have a special meeting the day after that, preferably, to approve the budget. Budgets are now due September 30th. So if that joint meeting is the 26th, let's say, my goal would be to have our next, our special meeting on the 27th. So I can get budgets finalized and get them to the state, the auditor's office, and the county to get them on file before that 30th. Does that make sense?
You're talking September 22nd.
Correct. September 26th would be the joint hearing and 27th special meeting, hopefully. And we can talk about that some more. The other thing that I had was this year, I'm doing something a little different. We're putting together a superintendent advisory committee. It's somewhere between 8 and 10 staff members from all 3 buildings to talk about stuff on a monthly basis. I will have topics and agenda, but it might be culture climate, it might be school calendar, it might be handbooks and policies, just to give staff more of an opportunity for feedback in a little more intimate setting where people might be more comfortable sharing than you would in an entire staff meeting. So I'm gonna try that for a year, we'll see how it goes, and I'll let you know.
Okay.
Okay?
So, we want to pencil in that September 27th date now, so that we at least have it tentatively held on our calendars,
Yes.
6 o'clock.
The conflict there, just so everybody has a heads up, it looks like we have volleyball and softball that night. I don't know if that impacts anybody.
But it should just be a single item agenda.
It's a single item, it's probably a 10-minute meeting.
Okay.
Where's the, you have that, with volleyball?
Volleyball at Malcolm, softball at Arlington.
Does that work for everybody? I mean, can we go at 5?
Whenever you like,
Oh, you can't go 5, okay.
let's go Wednesday.
I'll be out of town, I leave Wednesday week.
So you're out in Iowa,
I'll be here Tuesday.
so the Tuesday.
And that's what we're calling for us
Can you
Tuesday.
still do it?
Not be a voting member.
Tentatively Tuesday at 6? Okay. Let's just put a spot to hold and
Yeah.
we'll firm that as we get closer.
Okay,
Okay?
thank you.
Any questions for Brandon? All right. Next item is communications. I don't see anything there. Next item is audience comments. Any comments from the audience? All right, hearing none, we'll move on to board committee reports. Anything there?
I would guess some will be shared.
Their building.
Yep.
Okay. Moving on to the action items. We were there. Discuss, consider, and take any action necessary on geotechnical investigation proposals. I guess this one is specific to geotech.
Yeah, this is specifically the geotech. This is for soil samples and to make sure everything's in good order wherever we'd be putting additions in. You have 3 proposals in front of you that were put together or solicited by BVH, I believe Teal, I gotta remember which 3. Teal, Olson, and Terracon, thank you, were the 3 that we sent out. My recommendation is gonna be Teal. They weren't the lowest bid, but when you take into account some of that limited liability that would go with the lowest bid, I think that's a huge risk to take, given the scope of this project.
What was theirs versus Teal's? What's
Um,
Terracon's limit?
Yeah, Terracon's limit was 50,000 or fees.
Whichever
I think it was
was
the way-
50,000.
Yeah,
Okay, and
Terracon's was Teal was 2 million. And Olson's was their fee.
Teal was 2 million. They allow it to go to their full limits.
I don't know if that's their full limits, but that's what they put in there as language.
yeah.
So,
It's not
given that we're
bad.
building a $40 million project, I would not, I don't know.
No brainer.
We work with, I've never heard of that.
Yeah, we work with all 3. But we're constantly negotiating that piece. But Terracon has a specific provision in their agreement that says that they will increase, but only for a fee, for a surcharge. So there's going to be a greater cost. And you can see the base cost for Terracon at 8,300, and then their optional amount is 2,600. So their total fee is $10,900 versus $11,900, $11,900 a quarter for Teal. So for $1,000 you get $1,950,000 more in liability protection. So I would be very comfortable with that. And we work with all 3, all of Red people do a good job. So is there a motion to approve the hiring of Teal for the geotech?
So moved.
Any discussion? Chris, would you call the roll, please?
Mike,
Yes.
Brett,
Yes.
Alex,
Yes.
Renee, Rob.
Yes. Okay, next item is we have board grading scale, that's gonna bump to the next meeting, correct, Brandon?
Yeah, we're gonna bump that to the next meeting. He's got some response. He does not have a full committee he's ready to propose yet. They'll be ready in September.
Okay,
And we're appointing school board members to that as well, correct?
You guys could take that tonight and appoint to that group. As far as him being able to tell you he has a full teacher group, he cannot do that tonight.
I'd like to agree until the word's back.
yeah, I think that'd be fine, so just make sure we put that on our September agenda.
Okay.
All right, next item, discuss, consider, and take any action necessary on the new construction and or renovation plans, bids, and or purchases. Matt, the floor is yours.
All right. Well, I'd say if MCO wants to come up too, let me just double check. We've got Cleve on the line as well. Hopefully you can hear us, Cleve.
I'm good. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, we can hear you great.
Cool.
So what we wanted to do tonight is give everyone an update to our development of the design for the middle school, high school project. We've been meeting with members of various user committees, giving them an update to the overall needs for the project. Again, understanding that more classrooms are needed, new HVAC, replacement at the existing building a second gymnasium, improving overall site traffic and parking, CTE upgrades as part of the relocation of that program, and then the cafeteria server expansion. So tonight, what we thought we'd do is give you an update to the user group meetings. We met once on August 1st with the first core classroom, math, science, social studies, and English teachers. And today we got done meeting with the coaches to talk athletics, to talk the site overall activities portion of the project, as well as the site design.
PE instructors will include in that too.
PE instructors as well. And then part of what we'll end with is kind of a design development update of the overall project, and then MCL kind of give a debrief of where we are with budget and schedule. So I'll kind of flip through these first few slides, talking about the core classrooms. These diagrams were just showing how the core classrooms were starting to be arranged, and how we're starting to build in all the parts and pieces that fill in these classrooms. So we can plan for mechanical, electrical, where power is, all the finishes and fit out of these rooms. So we got a lot of really great feedback on how teachers want to use these classrooms. What we heard was flexibility is going to be key. Having multiple teaching walls, mobile furniture, perhaps just one fix for mobile tall storage for personal belongings. And what that allows is that classroom to be reconfigured depending on what is happening that day or that week. But then during the summer, moving all of that furniture out so the rooms can be clean and maintained. So it gives a lot of flexibility. That would include TVs on a cart, very much like what we're looking at here in the room. Having built-in technology, clocks, intercom, phones. Eric and his team are really plugging into the HVAC and controls of lighting, and just finishes throughout. We talked about security, having visibility into the classrooms, minimizing side lights to not allow for potential intruders to see into classrooms. So a lot of really good feedback here, and making it feel fresh, making it feel new, making it a very comfortable learning environment. Talked a little bit for the science teacher as well, just to build in. There's obviously very specialty function that goes into that room. And what we talked about was very similar to what you see on the screen. Maybe a little bit taller ceiling, exposed is totally fine, concrete floors, but perimeter casework, epoxy countertops for chemical resistance for all the tables, but perimeter casework with sinks to allow flexibility. Again, flexibility was something that was highly desirable. Multiple teaching walls, but again, open feel, a lot of kind of durability built in for a lot of experiments and a lot of things that will be going on. Again, TV on a cart, having a place separate from this area for chemical storage, so we have that built into our plans. Even heard back from science teacher after the meeting, getting some feedback through Brandon, possible greenhouse countertop on a countertop where next to a window so they can do more experiments. So really appreciate the feedback and science teacher was obviously getting excited and building in ideas and how he could live in the classroom and use it from day to day. So good feedback there. Overall, kind of the core arrangement of the programs is still holding true. We still have the core classroom, science classroom with restroom and storage like we're seeing here. The last part of the meeting was talking about really how to use this common space. We're not showing furniture yet, but you'll see it a little bit later on in the presentation. Making this common space in the classroom very purposeful where kids can either meet before or after school instead of maybe sitting in their cars. This is one of the things they talked about. Taking entire classes out into this space, so creating opportunities for teaching walls on either side. The teachers that we spoke to were a little bit hesitant to send individual groups or smaller groups just for supervision. So we wanted to make this very intentional and even build in programs so community members could come in and meet with students, maybe part of the CTE program. So this really is intended to be a highly flexible space. So as you can see, we showed them a few precedents of projects that we've worked on before, varying types of furniture that are both durable and flexible. So something similar to this top image, not so much lounge furniture, fabrics that can show wear and tear fairly easily. So good feedback. We're starting to plug that information into our plans. Very similar to the other group spaces that we were looking at, building in technology, clocks, intercoms, carts, TVs on a cart to allow that flexibility for technology as well. And obviously acoustics, things like that. We'll show you an image of kind of what we've been working on at the very end. And today we talked about the site, the gymnasium, and the activities portion. So a lot of good feedback here. Site plan, Jeff at Olson kind of presented the updated version of our site plan as far as how the building footprint is being arranged, circulation for pedestrians with new sidewalks, and then this new through connector road along with 90 new stalls to the north. One of the points of discussion that we did talk about was allowing for a bus parking, but for the new bus parking lot to be directly adjacent and connected to this interior street, and have the practice field off to the west. This allows for circulation to be interior and not have to navigate any kind of critical circulation on Hackberry Road, which was a concern on previous meetings. So again, we're building this detailed, got good feedback from administration on how to modify this design, add a second goalpost, add storage, add some water for drinking out at the field. Very similarly, working with Eric and his team on creating a little mechanical yard, which will impact how we navigate connection to the existing building. We're going to work with Brandon and just identify size of vehicles, trucks, access to this to really kind of fine tune this area of the building. And we are still maintaining this parking lot that's close to the new activities entrance for accessibility for handicap parking. And I think, here's a view of that that yard, that mechanical yard with new fluid chillers and some transformer. This makes that area a lot more easily maintained for Cohen, because everything is ground mounted. Previously, we were looking at a roof installation, but that got to be pretty oversized, and you would have seen a large piece of equipment on that roof. But again, we'll kind of continue to fine tune the circulation in this area. Looking at the gym and the activities portion of the project, talked about everything from sizing of the courts, increasing the length of the cross courts, building in technology, floor outlets for the scores tables, for possible AV within this area, acoustics, equipment storage, not only for physical education space, but also for the coaches and for the locker room areas. And then started to dig into this training room concessions. One of the changes that we will move forward with today is flipping the concessions area, which is currently where my mouse is here, and then flip it with the training room. So the training room is more closely adjacent to the lockers, and the concessions is more closely adjacent to this north entrance, to the public restrooms, and to the gym. So that seemed to be a really good option that the administration came up with today. Anything I'm missing, Brandon, or okay? But overall, just continue to build in detail on these different plans. Talked with plumbing fixture type, lighting, things like that. And so the next few slides are really just where we are with the design development. Today really marks the end of design development. We've been working with MCL, getting plans, kind of feeding plans to them so they can update their budget numbers along the way. But today is we're pulling everything together, giving them a full set of drawings and specifications to really dig into the scope and the details of the project, at least for now, what we've set as the basis of the design. There's obviously some budget confirmation moving forward, but this is not anything that you haven't seen before as far as the new addition goes. Again, you can start to see how we're starting to fit out the common space for the classroom areas. The next user meetings, we're going to talk about the CTE areas, special education, and then the cafeteria commons, and starting to plug in those details. A lot of what we have said is basis of design. We've been working with consultants. Food Lines is one of our kitchen consultants that we're starting to build in some equipment information, some pricing there. And then moving upstairs to the second floor, again, just a copy of everything to the second floor, but then we starting to show how we can start using new furniture solutions, common space, maybe create a meeting space up on that second floor level for additional breakout space or educational space. And then building in also some electrical IT spaces, working with Eric and SES and their team. Then just a couple of images as we're updating our drawings. This is a view to the new high school entrance, building in kind of a composition of materials, being precast, brick, as well as glass, creating some placeholders for possible signage, logo. Really, these are just budget allowances that would be fine-tuned with the overall cost, but just really trying to make the space feel and the outside feel lived in. This lighter gray box is using a kind of a form liner that you see off to the side, so it's a precast panel. It's just textured differently, which makes it very cost-effective construction, and that's really the exterior of your new CTE. The administration is highlighted with brick, and then of course the entrance here. So this is really going to be the view from that new north parking lot. And moving around to a little bit further east, this is the new activities entrance. Again, the CTE, the east edge of the CTE space is kind of off to the right-hand side. The gym box is also precast concrete with a corridor that connects in front of it and creates a new entrance for the activities portion. Just off the image is that new mechanical yard that we looked at this on the site plan. We'll continue to develop. There's a good opportunity for a little more modest signage, just to highlight wayfinding for your entire campus, and know that was a concern, not only on the east side, but we want to make sure people kind of know where they're going. And so we budgeted some allowances for signage on this side as well. And then looking a little more to the south, again, utilizing the efficiency of precast. These are precast panels, windows into classrooms, and then again, using that texture to highlight those classroom block spaces. And then here's the south and west edge of the new gymnasium, creating a base that highlights some new doors for exiting, but also makes this feel like a more interesting pattern on that overall box. And then here's an image of that common space that I referred to earlier. Really looking at, again, how the furniture, how materials, how graphics, and just more placeholders for different types of acknowledgement for those students, for the high school students. So the big Wahoo is really just a placeholder running up, but we'd love to work with the district and kind of do something custom, whether it's logos or some type of patterning. On previous projects, we've even had students help design that mural to fit within the overall space. But everything is intended to be exposed ceilings, drop lighting, even though it's not shown, but linear light fixtures, painted structure. But it's really intended to be a really active, flexible space with different types of furniture. So again, here might be an image where one classroom could set up with a teaching wall, as well as another one with a monitor on the other side, with a marker board and possibly a tack board on that opposite side. And then the elevator and the stair in the middle, obviously.
Matt, before you go,
Sure.
Can you go back one more? No, forward,
Here.
right there.
Sure.
So off to the west of the main entrance then, is that gonna go up pretty significantly? Is there gonna be a rise in the elevation
Yeah, I
there?
was gonna ask.
Yeah.
Go back, yeah, right there, that's,
Yeah.
that box right there.
So right here, so this is intended to be, everything is gonna be ADA. Working with Olson, they're grading the plans they haven't quite calculated the cut fill to see if the site balances out. One of the comments that we talked about earlier was if they can't balance out the site and they find out that they need to bring in dirt, they may leave the portion ungraded, leaving that hill in place. But the intent is to have everything from this parking to this new front door and around be ADA accessible. The only place we will probably need stairs is an exit out of this gym here in this corner. So there will be an incline. The site does slope from high to low, but the idea is we want to balance that out as best we can. Hope that does that answer your question, Rob?
No.
Okay.
I thought the reason that we didn't want to do parking on the west side of the main entrance was because it was too high and we'd have to remove all that dirt.
Here, let me go back. So this is something we did talk about. So this area, and this is the new grading plan for this site. So there's a pretty significant hill right, not only where we're building the new addition, but right in this area. So the idea with this future parking, it would be tiered, so you would have several sections that would
Where's
tier
that,
down.
where's that at right now in relation to the main floor, or in relation to the main entrance elevation? Is that higher or lower?
It would step down. So the first tier You can kind of barely see the parking stripe in here.
Right.
But the first tier would be on grade, so to speak, with this front door. There would be an island or a grass, and then it would step down and then down again. So there'd be 3 different tiers to get you down
So that current
to this
grade
area.
is actually lower than the
Then
first floor
the
elevation.
building footprint, correct. And so we're basically tying in this new building, the addition floor level with the existing CTE space here.
With the existing CTE, is it lower than the rest of the building?
That is correct, Trevor. So we are still maintaining, here, I'll go forward.
I just remember that ramp being up there.
Yeah, we are maintaining, the floor change on the interior of the building, right, right here.
3 or 4 steps or something.
Correct.
Right.
Yeah, I think it's a 3-foot,
Yeah.
elevation change between, where your existing cafeteria commons is and then down to this level here. So we are taking that into account as we build this addition. Any other questions on the design, where we are? So I'll turn it over to Trevor. Trevor, you've been working on some updated budget numbers. Kind of want to give us an update on your process and where things are at. Knowing we're going to be delivering a full design development package tomorrow. You've been working on some updates.
I'm not talking about that.
Okay, fair enough.
So, you all got my budgets that I sent out Saturday. I'm sure you're all worried about the budget. I can honestly say I'm not totally worried about it yet. Reason being is mechanically and electrically, we just haven't had the detail to put good numbers to this yet. I mean, the subs are even coming back to me saying, hey, there's not enough stuff here, we're really just putting square foot numbers of this and kind of guessing at it. I shouldn't say guessing, they're basing it off of previous jobs. But in talking with Sherman, there's some extra equipment that's been added that we think we can pull back out. In talking with Matt as well, and from what I understand, they were trying to hide some of the ductwork that was in the exposed spaces, which could have added some equipment.
Some of the ERVs, yeah.
So, in talking with Matt, we don't really need to hide that equipment, we're just gonna paint it in the exposed ceilings, and so those ERVs are gonna come back out. We can easily bring that mechanical number back down. Electrically, I've only gotten one number, it's from Miller Electric. I kinda put it in the email with you, Brandon. We've been hearing that the Omaha market is completely flooded with basically the data centers. And the electricians there are getting baby. So they're getting like overtime hours all over the place, they're getting warm water at their restrooms, they're getting lunches, they're getting all kinds of extra stuff that isn't going to happen here. I'm gonna start reaching out to a few of the non-union electrical contractors in Lincoln and Omaha, both. Start getting them interested. I've actually got a guy out of Kansas City that's looking hard for work. They're trying to get an office started in Omaha, so I'm gonna talk with him too. Possibly get him involved in this, so I've got some avenues to go to bring the electrical number down. I've got some avenues to go to bring the mechanical number down. Those are your two biggest numbers on this job. And I don't see any troubles getting them down. That budget I gave you guys had the CTE completely, all three labs, all the classrooms that were included with that. Had the complete gym, except I'm still only carrying just basically a goal at each end. No scoreboards, no bleachers, no extra sports equipment right now. I think I can still get those in. I'm just holding those off for now, and we need to play that game here probably in the next, I don't know, couple weeks of what we need to start adding back in once I get this budget back down. Do we want to focus on getting the rest of the gym equipment? Do we want scoreboards? Do we want bleachers? We need to kind of start thinking priorities there. And I'll get you guys a list of what those cost and everything you need to start making decisions on what priorities you want to make, what comes first, what comes second, so on. But I hate to say it this way, but this budget was kind of almost ridiculous because I need to get the mechanical and electrical more. Need to get more detail to them so that I can get better prices back from that group. And it sounds like I've got new plans coming and should be able to update that here soon.
Trevor, after the last meeting, didn't we think we were, pricing for the HVAC was imminent? Wasn't that supposed to be coming in or getting ordered?
For the elementary, yes.
For the chiller.
Okay, so that's locked in,
So that's something else we need to talk about.
okay?
So we got thrown a little problem with these ESSER funds, which we didn't totally realize. In order for you to use them correctly, actually, in order for you to use them at all, anything that has to do with the ESSER funds, you have to competitively bid it with the GCs, which would be us and all of our competitors, as well as all of the subcontractors. And
Maybe, we're not 100%.
we're working on something kind of in the background on this, but this is what we're getting, is that we have to bid all this competitively, and we have to put it out for public notice for like 2 weeks before it can bid. None of that happened. We didn't
Can I
realize
have your
all
attention,
that.
please? If Stella Page is here, please report to the high school office. Stella Page, thank you.
We didn't realize all of that would come into effect with this ESSER fund until we'd already had this thing bid out. So by the sounds of it, we're gonna have to rebid it, possibly. We're also trying to figure out if there's ways around it to where, either you guys manage the bids that we got for all the work that's to be done at the elementary. If that would eliminate this problem and just leave us out of it. And I mean, as far as our work is concerned, all we're gonna probably do is come down and check on it like once a day or once every other day. We can put that towards the rest of the building and not include it in the ESSER funds.
But the numbers came in good.
Yeah,
Yeah,
the numbers came in
numbers.
great. I mean, we were looking at, we were budgeting $1 million for it, and roughly we came in at, I think, close to 600,000. I still need to I need to find out exactly what the number is for the controls and get with Brian and find out exactly who we're gonna get and what their number is, but from what I've figured, from just talking with Brian, talking with Brandon, we're roughly coming in at about 600,000. So that left us 400,000.
Which includes the controls package that was kind of separate with Johnson.
That left us 400,000 sitting there, and I'm like, well, where else can we use that? Can we use ESSER funds for this? And we started digging into that. That's when we found out that, well, we went about this the wrong way, and now we've got to go back and redo this possibly.
And this is a little bit the frustration with those ESSER funds, is you'll be told something on day one, depending on who you talk to, and you can go back and check with them, and all of a sudden that changes, or if you talk to somebody else. I know of schools that had their projects completely approved, done, signed off, punch list, and the state tried to come back and said, no, you didn't do this correctly, so you can't use ESSER funds, you've got to retroactively apply paperwork, and they're just like, no, we're done. What are we supposed to do? So this is completely a moving target as we move through this, which is why I think the way that we're doing it is correct, kind of isolating that elementary project as opposed to applying it to our entire project. Because then this moving target is over 40 million instead of just the million we're trying to access.
So why don't we get this out for advertisement and bid? I mean, however we do it.
Right.
I don't think there's gonna be any way around the public bid and then the public notice.
I don't think there's any way around the public bid, but there might,
But there's a
we,
way.
MCL may not necessarily need to be part of it, as in, we've kind of already sent it out publicly, we just didn't do it like in the papers. I don't know if we can get around that one. We'll
And
have
that's
to check.
a critical component of the public bid process.
So-
I don't think there is a way around that.
So
Even-
probably a rebid. It's kind of different because we already are hired competitively,
Yeah.
interviewed, selected as a CM. So we don't necessarily need to compete anymore, but when you introduce a separate ESSER project, we have to go back up to GCs, and at that point, they're getting bids, getting new numbers, which is fine, but you can select whoever you want it to. It
Right.
doesn't have to be low.
So at that point, do we just send it back out to the subcontractors, let them rebid it, we put it out in the paper, do everything that they want, but leave us basically out of it as stay part of the main contract, and we just run the elementary portion of the work through you guys, basically. You guys would be in control of all the elementary work.
Or couldn't you guys just bid? You could bid, take the subcontract number that you had.
Yeah, and that would be,
You be one of the bidders, and then if somebody else wants to bid, it's
Yeah,
competitively
essentially,
bid.
Yeah,
between,
essentially, we could probably do that, because, again, we wouldn't have hardly any time to it, where another general would have probably a boatload to it, so.
we, as between Eric, SES, and BBH, we could issue advertisement, we could package this up for competitive bidding. So MCL no longer would not control the bid process, it would basically be open for anyone. And then you guys could bid on it.
And this is just a result of the ESSER funds. Any funds that we're using outside of the ESSER funds, we're not going into this.
correct. So if we keep it isolated, like we were talking about, it just makes it cleaner.
Yeah.
So then we have 400,000 left.
Yeah, that's the
How do
one
we
thing,
spend that
one
on
thing I'll,
something we need without it kicking in?
Well, what I
All
gathered
the
out of
ESSER
this whole
stuff.
thing is that we should expect all of our bids to come in at 60% of what your estimate. So that's awesome.
I'm really hoping for that. Mechanically, I could see that possibly happening, because we had, I think, 6 or 7 mechanical contractors bid on this. So I feel really good about the competition mechanically. It's electrically is where we're gonna have the issues, and like I said, I'm gonna start reaching out to Lincoln and Omaha, non-union construction people, really start digging in with them and see if I can get some interest there. I think I probably can. I got a couple of contacts that owe me some favors, so I'll work on that a little bit,
Yeah,
but,
finding the non-union electrical guys that can handle a, $5-6 million electrical scope is the tough thing, but they're out there.
yeah.
But when you get budgets from a union shop that's dealing with what they're dealing with the
And
data centers.
I've got a non-union guy working on the Boys Town project that I put together, which I'm pretty sure I could probably get him talked into it. I worked with a guy in Lincoln several years ago that I'm pretty confident can handle this job, so I'm gonna be reaching out to both of those. I'll dig into that pretty hard. The other aspect of this is, we still had that 400,000 sitting out there. Even after we go through all this rebidding stuff, we're probably still gonna have that 400,000 sitting out there. From what I understand, we need to dig into this further, is that we can do a change order into this ESSER fund
Contract.
contract after it's going, can we possibly work with Sherman and come up with like a $400,000 piece of equipment or a couple pieces of equipment that we can buy ahead of time through this ESSER fund, so that we're pulling it out of, I want to be able to use that full $1 million if possible, and take the strain off of your budget so that we can use your money for sports equipment, everything else that we're wanting,
Or middle school upgrades.
or middle school upgrades.
So how do we move forward? I know time was of the essence and we really wanted to get that grade school, elementary HVAC locked in. Do we get to move
Yeah,
forward?
so Matt, can you package that as its own project? And if we took action tonight to authorize the advertising of bids for the elementary HVAC project, I mean, is that a doable thing?
I think so. I think there are a lot of scenarios that we were talking about that could work. I don't know if those are feasible or not. But if we just wanted to cut and dry, make a decision tonight, just say, all right, we're gonna send this mechanical package out to bid, advertisement, we can certainly do it.
Cut and dry, we want to send this out.
I mean, everything from what our recent ESSER projects, everything has to be above the table. You know, the better off we're gonna be if we just send this out to bid and have MCL be one of the generals who bids it.
If they desire to. If they don't, then they can make their decision on that.
So moving forward, as bids are opened, you're looking at these different options. Say you have 3 generals who want to bid this project. You know, all of them are, you pick the low bid and you're good to go from there.
Is there any alternatives that we could add to this that would be useful for using up the ESSER funds, recognizing that we may dip into other funds, but at least we're getting part of our overall project done?
Are you referring to things at the middle school, high school for this building? Or?
Anything. I mean, I'm talking about things
Yeah.
that we're already planning on doing, not adding something that we weren't
Yeah.
planning on doing, but something that we're already planning on doing that we could authorize, something that could be fairly independent, but somewhat ideally tied to whatever a general might bid on that particular project.
Yeah.
And whether that's a piece of the mechanical electrical up here, or if it's an independent piece of some grading or something, we can tie it in with the general on that. Maybe that gives NCL a bigger reason to go forward with bidding.
We'll go, no matter what, we'll give you the number. It'll be the lowest probably because we won't
Let's hope.
have much GCs involved
Right.
for it to be good.
Yeah.
Right.
Anything, but
Yeah, I think that's a good for us to maybe study. I know that ESSER funding is targeted towards indoor air quality, building improvements, things of that
do
nature.
you know this?
So-
that's a
Remote
2 and
learning is a
3.
huge
Yeah.
component.
We're using 2 and 3.
2 and 3.
Yeah, and 2 is not a problem.
Mhm.
3,
Kicks in.
right, we have 100 and, I don't remember the exact number, 160 some thousand that has to go for educational purposes for improvement of curriculum.
Right.
The rest of it was earmarked for the rest of the HVAC. So if there's a way to use it for that, that would be awesome.
Yeah.
If we can't find a way to use it for that, we can always defer to a following year for an additional curriculum purchase outside of what we've already done. So we have a little bit of flexibility there.
But what gives us the most flexibility in this project is if we can find a way to apply it to
Correct.
what we're already planning to do.
Correct.
Yeah, I would chop off another section of controls, right? If we can earmark it for controls and have JCI split out the renovation and the new work controls and try to apply it to one of those.
It's probably gonna be pretty close, because I think the new
Yeah.
controls numbers was like 694,000 or something.
Yeah, and then we can go through that route where the extension of an existing
Right,
contract is.
with the contract.
Yeah.
It could be a change order instead
Yeah.
of going back out.
I mean, if there's an easy alternate to add to it, that'd be great, and if we have to change order something later, that's fine too, but
But
feels like a alternate at the front end is gonna give us the most competitive pricing, and we've gotta go out for competitive bids anyway on a design bid build for that piece.
Plus, if you look at the, the purpose for ESSER, that, that's one of the primary things that's always indicated as a as what that funding mechanism was for.
But if we pull controls into it, are we gonna be able to competitively bid the
Well, see,
controls?
there's an exception, that's what verify it's still right, is that if you can prove that the extension of an existing service contract is by far the most economical route forward, then you can defer that component of it. And with controls, it would be because you're extending a front end that you would have no, like if you came in and bid controls against another control contractor and they had to recreate an entire front end, there's no way they're gonna be competitive.
Right, but just thinking, so if we wanna send this out for controls, should we make it sound like it's going to several control people, already knowing that we're
Oh,
probably.
yeah, we can do that. Yeah, absolutely. We can.
That way Johnson's not thinking they got
Yeah.
this in the bag and marking
Yeah,
their product.
absolutely.
That's what I wanna avoid.
Yeah.
100%.
Hey guys, Cleve here, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah,
You can all.
yeah, I kinda forgot you were with us, Cleve. Good to hear you.
You can also have multiple bid packages. That is, you could award the elementary project to one GC and have a wholly separate bid process for the controls at the middle school, high school campus that would go to another contractor. So they wouldn't have to be tied together and have multiple layers of markup.
Saying that, yeah, you could bid the controls direct to owner. Yeah.
Yeah.
Is that the controls piece, just, if you're just grabbing a number out of the air, what is that? Is that $500,000, is it $1 million, is it $5 million?
It's
$500,000.
Yeah.
Okay, so it
It's
would be a
in
good
That's
use
correct.
of the
Yes.
remaining
Yeah.
portion of the ESSER funds, assuming that the bids came in as you already.
The only question I would have is whether or not you have to split. You can't, because you probably can't use it on the new building, right? It would have to be the control scope on the.
It would have to be an improvement.
Yep,
So
Right.
what's going on?
but you could assign the network automation engine upgrade to the existing building. So,
Which would probably put it pretty close to
Yeah.
that 400,000 that we are lacking.
yeah, so that all of the parts and smarts for the core system would be under the renovation.
So Brandon, with what we have on our agenda, discuss, consider, and take any action necessary on new construction and or renovation plans, bids, and or purchases, it would feel like we would have the appropriate authorization this evening to authorize preparation of plans and specifications for the HVAC renovations at the elementary school, and either an alternate and or separate bid package for the control system that we just referenced. Is that fair? And that keeps us moving on this. We can get that cracking, because I hate, when you got a bid out there, I hate to sit and
Yeah.
let that fester for a while. Feels like we need to move on. I'm assuming that was from a reputable contractor and it's a good price.
All the guys, yeah.
Yeah.
They're good.
So that would be ideal. Negatives of taking that action?
So your chillers, like 40 to 50 weeks to get it, there's nothing we can do. Right now, there's nothing that needs to be done right away down there, so it's still a while before you can, get the chillers.
Before I call for a motion on that, I don't wanna walk us down a path that you're gonna go, what the hell are you doing?
Well, we just want to build in the correct time frame for the advertisements to allow contractors to look at plans to bid them. Because sometimes, to Trevor and Brian's points, like getting their attention is sometimes very difficult. So by the end of the day, we might not get any more than just Conceal's bid, which would still be all above the table. It puts us right back where we are.
But do they,
So,
does ESSER state how long this has to be out for bid?
Yeah, there's
Yeah.
two rules,
Yeah.
2 weeks or something.
2 weeks.
That's the publish it.
yeah. and then-
Matt, do you have to you don't have to throw out the original, right? You could retain the original.
See, that's where I need to double check that.
My concern would be that they would say,
It would not hold.
we're
it
not
up.
gonna put another number in, we
Right.
already went through this.
Right, so
Let us work on that.
yeah, we have some information to gather as far as the bids that we've already received and how those can be used. We'd love to carry them forward. Putting it out to bid, we're opening it up for them to resubmit the bid or
Who's your current?
Yeah, because they only hold it for a certain amount of time,
But our ability to authorize you to start working on that this evening at least gets that moving. If we choose not to ultimately advertise when it's ready, then that's up to us, but at least now we can get this moving. And short of some hiccup, we could even, as soon as you can start advertising, we can authorize that as part of this motion this evening.
so this is exactly right,
Good with that, Brandon?
Yep.
Board members? Is there a motion to approve the preparation of plans and specifications for and advertising for bids on the elementary HVAC project, as well as the controls for, what are the controls for? Is that middle school, or is that high school, or is that
We did renovation,
Renovation.
for the
renovation scope.
And just to clarify, you said the preparation of plans and specs. You've already bid that out. That to me says the plans and specs already exist, and all we need to do are pick those up, advertise them, package them up in a new bid package,
Right.
right? So I don't think we're authorizing preparation of plans and specs. We're authorizing you to put together a bid package and go to bid, advertise.
correct.
Bid
And collect.
package is a better word.
Yeah,
Okay,
Plans and
okay, I
specs.
just wanted to
Development
clarify
bid
if you've got
package for
development or design to do before we can go out with it.
All right. We'll work on that language, Chris. But in essence, the
Unless
motion,
I quit writing.
the motion that we're looking for is authorization to prepare and advertise a bid package for the elementary school HVAC project and the renovation controls, the control systems as part of the renovation project.
So moved.
A motion and a second. Any further discussion on that?
Read that again for me.
Chris?
Wait till we get it in writing.
All right, Chris, would you call the roll, please?
Renee,
Yes.
Rob,
Yes.
Mike,
Yes.
Brett,
Yep.
Alex.
Yes.
All right. Other things?
I think MCL, BBH, SES, we're gonna still dig into the middle school, high school budget. We've got some work to do there.
Just take 60%.
Easy, it's done. So, but on the design side, even Eric and I were talking, we've got some thoughts behind how we can reduce our design and the building portion of it as well. So between MCL, BBH, I think we're feeling pretty good.
Yeah, we feel like we have a heck of a lot of content that came out in this package we just issued, so it should bring some significant clarity.
Okay, before we go any farther, between you two, do we need to upgrade the information you're gonna put out in this one before we put it out? To show less equipment?
We'll talk about it.
We'll
Okay.
talk about it, yeah, outside this meeting. But I think we're good for now.
Trevor, when will we start getting a little more granular on the pricing detail?
How, I mean,
So I'm used to seeing bid forms that are 12-page plus long,
okay,
that granular. Here, I think we've got a page. Maybe some middle ground as we start to put some more, I mean, I want to know, I want to dig into the weeds.
I've kind of talked to Brandon about this a little bit. Let's discuss that after the meeting.
Okay. And I know we're gonna have to find some compromise here. Hopefully, there's something between 12 pages and one that we might be able to.
No, it's probably gonna be 12 pages.
Okay, well, 12 sounds good.
Okay. Other things? Cleve, anything you want to add?
Great conversation.
All right. Board members, any other questions, comments on regards to this? All
Thank you
right.
guys for the effort.
Thank you, gentlemen. Appreciate it. Cleve, thank you.
Thanks, everybody.
All right, let's see. Back to this. All right, personnel, resignations, hiring, anything? All right, items for the next regular meeting. We have grading policy, or the grading committee. We have budget.
Budget and tax asking hearings.
Might have something to do with building plans. Anything else? If not, is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved. Second.
Motion is second, discussion. Chris, would you call the roll, please?
Brett,
Yes.
Alex,
Yes.
Renee,
Yes.
Rob,
Yes.
Mike?
All right, yes, we are adjourned, thank you. Okay. Brandon?
Yeah.
Can you, the video?
I can try to.
You're welcome.